and good evening, everybody. I welcome one and all to this Sunday webinar of Philosophy Family. Today we have with us Miss Deepalee Rout, lecturer in Kandarpur College, Cuttack, Odisha. She's a young scholar, but with lot of promise. And she is with us with her topic philosophy and the art of critical thinking. Um, it's a very beautiful topic, very nice topic, and hope she will deliver a very good lecture, and it would be benefiting for all of us. So, with these words, I congratulate Deepalee Rout for finding a spot in philosophy family to deliver her lecture in this forum. I welcome today all the senior professors and all the participants who have joined this webinar, and also welcome our admin Dr. Pramod Kumar Das for contacting Deepan Raut, and also asking her to deliver this lecture this evening. So with these words, I welcome one and all to this family, and also welcome Dr. Kailash Mahana sir, who is very much actively connected with philosophy family. So with these words, I welcome one and all the senior professors and all the participants. So with these words, let us move to Miss Deepalin Raut for our lecture on the topic under the title Philosophy and the Art of Critical Thinking. Over to Deepalin Raut. Thank you, everybody.
A very good
Welcome.
evening. Namaskar. Uh, Respected Pramod sir, K.O. Narayan sir, Kailash sir, and many more faculties, Amita Balmiki ma'am, and I think lot many of my colleagues have joined. Even Ranjit sir has joined. All are my gurus in some or the other sense, and it may be a tribute to whole philosophy fraternity. It's a very general topic. I can say I'm not going to deliver a kind of lecture, but I would be sharing my experience during these years as I have joined as a lecturer for past 5 years, and if I add a guest faculty things, then it is going to around 7 years. So, uh, being in philosophy was a chance to me. It was not by choice, and I am going to uh, say, or you can say, convey the uh, things that a philosophy student, academician, a lecturer would relate to it. The fate of philosophy that is happening across Odisha, or you can say India, or even the world. We might not know, but as I have been researching about the academic philosophy, or philosophy as an academic discipline, I believe that the problem of sustaining philosophy uh, is quite the same problem throughout the world. So this is an extension of what I speak to my second year students after they complete their fourth semester, because by then they are aware about their syllabus, and they have to be aware that they are going to build a career with that. So it shouldn't be about syllabus only, but about the subject itself, what they're pursuing. So this is about it. I will be sharing my slides. Am I allowed to? Yeah. So this is the topic that philosophy and the art of critical thinking. So there are two terms, philosophy and critical thinking, and I think they have both a beautiful relation between them, which you will be discovering through it. And I would start with the questioning thing. That is the most beautiful element of philosophy, and I think it should be a characteristic of every person who are pursuing philosophy. So I have couple of questions first that I would like to ask, and the first question would be that can someone have read about all philosophers and still not be philosophical? What would be the answer? I would like to hear, because I think I can't see my screen from Google Meet, so I would be depending upon the audio.
I think yes.
Okay. And then what about this question? Can someone never know a philosopher and still philosophize?
Of course, yes.
And
Yeah, of course, yes.
and if I guess if somebody is even telling a no, if yes or no, I'm waiting yes an answer, whatever it is. So what philosophy is then? We are back to our fundamental question. Whenever we are entering into a philosophy class, with the first day, the first thing is what is philosophy? Why philosophy? Why I have chose philosophy? That is the question. And what is philosophy is a question. So what is philosophy? We are back to a fundamental question. Is it a subject or an activity? So it is completely an existential question for philosophy itself, that whether it's a subject like history or geography, sciences, and other things, and
Uh,
whether it is uh, an activity, a procedure, or something that is to be done with the thing. And typically, for this question, we get the answer, very general answer, that philos means love, Sophia is wisdom, and then we have love of wisdom. It's a very etymologically, this philosophy is what it means. So let us dissect this definition. So for I have taken the means it's not the exact definition given by Russell, but somehow I can make it from his essay. He had given a talk in BBC back then in 1954. He had written in 1952, and I got it from portraits from memory and other essays about the distinction between knowledge and wisdom, which he had done in that back that time. So he describes wisdom as an ability to use knowledge rightly. It involves a sense of proportion, broad understanding, impartial judgment, compassion, and awareness of the consequences of our action. A kind of technical definition. You can say that not many definitions are there. Why Russell? So I find that he has given or he has described knowledge and wisdom very descriptively. So it's quite technical, and I think it would be proper to give it over here as it contains lot many characteristics about what wisdom would mean. So there are many features like ability, knowledge, using knowledge rightly, sense of that involves a sense of proportion, broader understanding, impartial judgment, compassion, and awareness. So we can say that knowledge and wisdom, knowledge, accumulation of facts, knowing what, why, and then wisdom becomes how to use that. Because we can, at Russell, when he gave this description, he was in mid of Cold War. He was at the time when this atomic bomb was being developed. It was being used. So the scientists, those who invented those things, they had profound knowledge of creating it. But what about the consequences? So wisdom goes up a bit front by adding that factor, the judgment factor of using certain things wisely, in a correct manner, how it ought to be used. And then the love part becomes the deep driving passion, a never ending commitment for that wisdom or of that wisdom. So, love to have or pursue that ability to use knowledge justly. I can think you can define philosophy in this way too. So, love can say uh, it is a never ending commitment towards cultivating intellectual integrity, a moral responsibility, and a lifelong pursuit to what is correct, what is true. And it, it also shows a commitment of transcending mere facts. I can have collection of facts, but what to use, what to acquire in my life, what to believe depends on me. So knowledge it by itself is insufficient if we are not going to use it justly. And how it can be used justly, that is the question. Because we know that there are collection of facts, and we have to use justly, but that involves certain things. There is a you can say a medium that converts, or that you can say kind of transforms what we know to what is to be done. So that whole process gives the meaning to philosophy, that we have to examine, we have to evaluate, we have to apply. Those things are the essence. So wisdom is not only an intellectual possession, so it becomes an active exercise. So again, going back to the question, what is philosophy then? Again, if we are describing wisdom in so various ways, and there is a feeling involved in it, a rigorous commitment towards it, then what becomes a philosophy? Again, a subject or an activity. So more or less, what I have been describing is an activity. So philosophy is more an activity. But currently, what happens is philosophy is being reduced to the story of Socrates, activity would look. Now, looking at the problem from all sides, we told that it's a sense of proportion. So we have to look at a problem from different perspectives. So we have to question our personal biases and prejudice rather than accepting them as truth. So, and we have to be impartial and fair too, because it's not about judging others, it has to be about also judging ourselves. And then we have to understand that judgment also requires a compassion. We have to understand others' perspective, even though there is a disagreement. We have to understand on from which perspective, from what belief they hold, for which they're having such perspective. And then the beauty that adds to all this activity is considering the consequences and balancing the knowledge with moral judgment. As we discussed a bit earlier while talking about Russell, various sciences are and other disciplines are engaging with this. They are also claiming, but the beauty lies in philosophy that it balances with moral judgment. It thinks about consequences. And if we consider other sciences, they have that thing that philosophy holds, but it is limited to facts, limited to what is the requirement of the situation, and sometimes it lacks the perception of the long-term future, and that distinguishes philosophy from other disciplines. So means I am answering if the question arises that this kind of activity is also involved in other things. But this last condition, balancing knowledge with moral judgment, is unique of philosophy. So, what has happened of philosophy today? So, I am coming back to think why I'm discussing this. What is the reason of discussing those things which we have already read in our undergraduate times? So, we may get answer in another question. What is left of philosophy if the activity itself is subtracted from it? So the answer to this would be the current situation of philosophy that is happening right now. So I believe it would be left of various subject matters like God, soul, this phenomenal world, mind, language, or values, or it could be like history of different philosophers, and we would be teaching those things without those activities. So and if we take that it is the when it's defining the philosophy with its subject matter, then those subject matter had been already taken up by different disciplines, and that is why we have so many things, so many disciplines around philosophy, and they are flourishing with that, whereas we are struggling to sustain the department itself in the colleges or universities. To say that philosophy has been developed as a subject and the activity is been subtracted, packaged in a module, and being sold as critical thinking. And we do have this analytical and logical thinking paper and critical thinking paper in our syllabus, which is crucial, no doubt. But subtracting it and making it content neutral from philosophy, that is quite questionable. And what remains of philosophy after that if that activity is taken up separately? So the thing is, and moreover, the claim is that critical thinking is separate and philosophy is strong. I believe essential to philosophy. Critical thinking to philosophy, but it is an integral part of philosophy. It is an activity of philosophy. So, is this current situation what we are facing always like this? So, was philosophy always like this? And here again, we have to take history of philosophy, which I had been discussing earlier, that what would be left of philosophy if critical activity is subtracted. So we will get a new perspective of looking at the history. Where did philosophy begin? So is it with Plato, Socrates, or sometime? It's not with Plato, it's not with Socrates, and I won't even tell that it's Thales. I won't tell that. I want dissatisfaction, doubt, and wonder. These were the first things that happened. So it is because of dissatisfaction from the mythological explanation of various things of the world on those explanations, and then wandering what would be other explanation if these are not? So that is what made philosophy begin with the pre-Socratic philosophers Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, and so on. So there was uh, an eruption of observing, of examining, of questioning what, how, why, and of this world. And with that, a reasoning kind of started, an attempt that I want this explanations which were given to me earlier, that were examined, and I find something faulty over there, and I would explain what would be conceivable by a common mind. And then we know that Thales gave water, then Anaximander some boundless, and then Anaximenes comes air. And beauty lies that Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, these were sharing a teacher-disciple relationship like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. And they all are giving very different answers to the same question, that what is of this world, what the world is made of. And they have that, we can say, don't want to use the negative word audacity, but that kind of courage to disagree with your teacher, that that is quite unique. Questioning your teacher, questioning the explanation given by your teacher. And then this, I believe, is quite lost in the method which we are following right now. And then uh, we can again ask a question, that what is more philosophical? Is it having an answer, or we can say, or is it having a questioning an answer? So this is what is going to be deduced from this pre-Socratic outline. So if currently, if our teacher is giving some explanation, we accept that. And the condition, what I'm seeing currently, that whatever we are teaching to the students, maybe whatever, for whatever reason, they don't compare, they don't evaluate, and they don't analyze why philosophers said A, B, C. Why Plato said this or that. Why Socrates said this or that. Or why Aristotle is doing this or that. They don't even question, they don't even think about it. And that is quite diminishing. But as we proceed further, we will see that this questioning is the best of doing philosophy. We have to question. And it is quite essential for this period, for which I have taken up this topic, that the students, even though they are using this AI for things, different things, they're asking questions, they don't know how to ask question to AI models. For their examination notes or anything, but they are not even thinking whether or not those answers are to be written as it is given. They are not the output of that AI model. And so many things happening in this technological world in this 21st century, I believe philosophy becomes utmost important over here because questioning different things uh, crucial what philosophy has been depicting throughout its is that each one involved in questioning the other philosopher, examining is what critical thinking is. And then we have after them Socrates, and he is claimed to be father of philosophy. And why do you believe that even philosophy was developed far before Socrates, but he is considered as father of philosophy? Can anyone just answer? So that is the
Uh,
answer. Yeah.
yeah, in fact, Socrates started it in a catechetical way,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was around the people, he used to pose a question and ask the so many questions from them, and from there he tried to evolve that after analyzing all these things, you are right. So in that way, the critical thinking arose there from the catechetical way in the context of history, and this is the reason he is called.
Great. So I can summarize his this thing in this quotation from Apology. An unexamined life is not worth living for a human being. So uh, we can that happened from the natural world towards human thinking, and a human like he gave an aim to a human life that a human being ought to examine and living. And what was his time? The time when he made this claim was that he was charged for what he was doing, for critically thinking. He was charged for that, and the trial was going on. And ultimately, yes, he died. He was killed. He was given poison. So, claiming at such a point of time, what does he mean by this unexamined? And what Socrates did, I won't survive like that. If you leave me, I will do that. If you send me to exile, I will don't ask me to stop philosophizing. Don't stop me to ask questions to others. So what he meant by unexamined, whether it is dialectical questioning and cross-examination, I think this technical term, Alamkas, would be appropriate. And this involves stages. Okay, so this involves stages like there is a purpose behind questioning. So it was not a random thing. There was a topic. The person, the interlocutor, had to define that term. So whether it is about justice, piety, courage, so there are so many terms that are being described in different books of Plato. So the overall thing is there is a purpose we have to define. We want to know what this topic is or what this term is. And then Socrates would try to elicit, to draw out those what this interlocutor thinks of that topic or that term. And then after multiple questioning and asking and getting so many answers from his interlocutor, he would expose that, see, the definition or that explanation you gave earlier is contradicting the current explanation, or the current explanation is contradicting the explanation you gave earlier. So then, when this is euphoria, the numbness, I think in Menu he has described about the feeling of stingray. Menu said, your questioning is just making me numb. So this euphoria is the state where the interlocutor is left in a state of confusion, in perplexity, that his own beliefs, whatever he is holding, is contradicting with each other. This is carried out by skillful questioning. Skillful, I won't say that Socrates, but the mind being attentive, thinking answers given by his interlocutor to whom he is cross-examining is quite here. That he could question, he would find faults, he could find fallacies in what it is being believes one holds. And you may say that after this confusion that is left of a very bad method, it's very destructive method, then I am left with no belief in what I should hold on to. It's not negative in the sense, it is not defeating, it is not done to defeat someone, to show that, to humiliate someone. No, it is not done in that manner. So it is actually an opening point for that person who is being shown that his own beliefs are inconsistent. So that is why this numbing effect, this confusion is very essential in our life, in the life of every person who is trying to pursue philosophy. If there is no confusion and you're living a life in that manner, in the continuous manner, with no problems, without any problem in noticing, without any questioning, and I believe that you think if something is going wrong, something is going wrong here and there. So after one is aware of his ignorance, so he will prepare himself to actually search for the genuine, search for the truth. And there is this requirement of epistemic humility, to be aware about one's ignorance. And if you are not ignorant, aware that you are not ignorant, that is quite dangerous. And that is what Socrates actually acknowledged about himself. Oracle happened that he is the wisest of the all, but that humility, that no, I don't know anything, they know so many things, but I think I don't know that. And that humility itself made him to question things about this. Some might name that Socrates was doing it knowingly, the Socratic irony, but let us consider that was not irony, that was genuine. So that humility is first of all essential, that I want to know how it is. Isn't those who don't ask. And I believe personally that one is giving alms to beggar and giving knowledge to someone, it has to be asked for first. And I believe giving free knowledge, free alms, you are not. So one has to have that basket open to gain those things. And without those things, without that acceptance, the feeling of accepting things, the feeling of wanting to gain those things, I believe that no amount of knowledge that we might be reading from here and there would work. So whatever this process is happening, we can see that that it has a reflexive character. The interlocutor which is involved in the whole dialogue, they will be aware about their consistency and inconsistency. And we have got examples from Republic, from you can say Typhro, and many things, that one person gives a definition, say, of justice, like helping a friend, and not helping an enemy, and then Socrates showing the inconsistency, and then one thinks, yes, this is inconsistent. Then he changes it. Revision happens, right? So I am not telling that we have to get into one particular answer. We might get to one particular answer, but that doesn't happen in one go. It has to take lot many alankas throughout. A lot many revision has to happen in this belief system in order to get towards the perfection or towards a definition which Socrates was hoping to. And this examination of belief, all belief system, will be reflected onto life. So when our beliefs are questioned, we'll be questioning our life, because all this lifetime we were holding those beliefs, we're leaving it. We are what we are thinking. In that way, with what we believe, that becomes our motto of living. And if our foundation is inconsistent, that life wouldn't be called a worthy life in terms of Socrates. And what he meant by wisdom, by philosophy. And we try to want or desire for a consistent, worthy, meaningful. And then after Socrates, I won't talk about much more history, but relationship Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Aristotle criticizing Plato. This what perspective? I can take example of Wittgenstein. He is great in finding his own book, his own work inconsistent, and sometime in Vienna Circle calling it useless. Who has talked about this? He was wonderful in that, in knowing that this can be inconsistent about his own work. And then with this disagreement, we can see that only Aristotle uh, went had a disagreement with Plato. He did from theory of ideas, right? If he wouldn't have analyzed those previous things, philosophy would have remained to means this ideas, theory of ideas would have been something very different or not there. Or that the biological classification which I had read Aristotle for first time in because I was a science student, so I read Aristotle over there. So he was beautifully classifying different things. His method is like Socratic was a classifying method, and he used to classify each and everything and provide description about it. So it wouldn't have been there because he developed those theory of ideas from Plato by to hierarchy, from the highest being the god, the actual form, to the lowest being the matter, and then segregating other things in a hierarchy. That wouldn't have been possible. Logic, then he had so many things he had developed in by that time. It wouldn't have So this this is essential for intellectual progress. Then we have, after Aristotle, what happened was the Trojan War, and then there was a exposition on those philosophical activities. It was at that time what happened is new like this activity, philosophy as an activity was officially started, but realized. But around 15 BC, yeah, 15 BC, philosophy was an academic discipline in which universities developed separate chairs of philosophy. But in between that, what happened? The developed. They the academia that Plato built, the Aristotle built. Their works were preserved. Plato and Aristotle were taught in the churches, but the selective part, physical part, which contained the theology aspect and the idea. Okay. So what happened is philosophy was broken down, segregated, that was used within the framework of authority of those churches. Then theology happened. Uh, the primacy of faith arose. Quite beautiful to see that there was mythology or myth. Then primacy of reason was developed with pre-Socrates, and again it is getting demolished to faith, and then comes philosophy. Again, reason arose. The questioning those authority, questioning the churches, authority of God. And at that time, questioning God was quite the audacious. I think we know about Bruno, we know about Galileo. Galileo was grounded. Questioning God at that time was really a very dangerous step taken by Descartes. But so beautifully, means the situation in the mind, and again with the task of gaining back. When the faith was at the top, at the peak, when the churches were at the peak, this was quite commendable. So again, he gives a method. As we know, there are four axioms which he this the method of doubt, that we have to we shouldn't act clearly and distinctly. I'm not going into the terms. It means this is about not accepting anything as it is given. Not have to assume. We do not have to hold a belief dogma. That is all. So before doing anything, before having your own beliefs and standards, we have to question what is there, whether or not I should consider it. And then dividing those so many things, belief system, into different parts. So different parts makes examining and analyzing easy. So then after analyzing each and every part minutely, we would make those synthesis, gradually having our own belief system. And this should be so complete. Review those again, because you have to make the comprehensive enumeration, and it is through reviews we will check whether or not all these stages followed. And this whole thing, before building, going for a certain knowledge, his aim was finding a foundation, giving foundation to, or having foundation to knowledge, or giving certain knowledge, finding what is actually there out there. Before that, he is giving that how the mind would actually examine to know, to properly know that yes, whatever I'm knowing is true, and it could be called knowledge. And again, it is to be seen that for this method, we don't need another person to have a dialogue with. Coming back to when the questioning, this thing is happening with oneself, and no doubt why he's one questions. Because at the time of meditation, one is with himself or herself. The mind turns inward. You think what is there in you. So it and when you can conduct it by yourself, and at the same time all your belief system can be questioned, can be examined. So with this he proceeds to give the establishment of cogito. So first he gives the foundation or the certainty of cogito, the self, the mind, because the mind has to be aware. It has to be aware that whether or not it itself is a condition to proceed for knowing the truth or anything out there. If the mind is puzzled, if the mind, you cannot establish what your mind is, the mind would not give a certain answer. So it is very essential about the functioning of mind. We have to be aware that what a mind is and what is its functions. And so beautifully he gives the criteria. What should you do? And then faculty will do this. And then word or any other thing, world and other things. So this is what makes him father of modern Western philosophy. Again, these critical thinking, the process, they're emphasizing first on the process. So that method again changed. With Socrates, with Plato, with Aristotle, again Descartes changed to knowledge, epistemology. And then likewise it went. Philosopher Kant, Immanuel Kant, whose philosophy is known as critical philosophy. And he wrote 3 books, Critique of Reason, Practical Judgment, and so on. And with him we got critique in a new connotation. What is it? A systematic examination of the scope and limits of a faculty, which is undertaken by that faculty turning its scrutiny upon itself. Short, reason is auditing itself. So reason, before it proceeds, it has to scrutinize itself first, that under what conditions is it going that correct, first of all? Is that functioning well? So reason is correct, is auditing, is checking on itself. And he said that Hume woke him home from this dogmatic slumber. What was the dogma earlier then? The dogma was, again, the with Descartes and onwards, again we started talking about God, soul, mind, body. So many things were being discussed. So many concepts were developed. Sense, experience, reasoning, primary qualities, secondary qualities. So many things were discussed. But whether this is done, like whether the human mind is actually capable of understanding those things, that is what Kant is questioning. And that was the Copernican revolution. So, in short, what Kant is, he is examining the very framework, the very condition that makes knowledge possible, and that has to be assessed. But with each stage, what is happening? This is the cycle. And I have shown it in circle, but actually it is spherical, right? It is proceeding upward. It is growing upward. There is a question. You question your previous people. You question your teacher. You question your belief. You question authority, anything. And you have a dialogue with the other person or with oneself. You critique either yourself, your own beliefs, or the beliefs that is happening outside. You analyze those things, you examine those things, and after that you revise. And with revision, you give an opening aspect, or you can give you keep it open-ended to the upcoming generation to form new question, and then that cycle goes on. The cycle proceeds. So we are back with some more questions. So the reason what we are discussing this topic today, for why we're discussing this today, needs some answers. That why we are in this condition. If history of philosophy contained so many philosophers who have been rigorously in this activity of examining, questioning, analyzing, evaluating, revising. So what changed through this history that we are facing this thing? And is there anything that remained unchanged throughout? And then, can philosophy survive without questioning? And can critical thinking flourish without philosophy? So we are left with these questions. To proceed, then what happened? If I look into the history, I would say that philosophy evolved well, and it is evolving even till now. It is evolving this as an activity too. But it has, during its evolvement, it has decided its own fate. So what I'm claiming that while engaging in this activity, the point around 19th century came when analytic philosophy, logical positivism was at its peak. And no doubt that they believed philosophy is an activity, as Wittgenstein claimed. Philosophy is an activity. They found new problems, their subject matter changed. But with that, their emphasis on dissolving those problems, they had a very rigorous or very can say strong emphasis on the method. So it become that the concepts that were being discussed in philosophy earlier, those are dissolved in the sense those were rejected, and it was more about logical analysis, linguistic analysis of the problem, because it was confusion of language, and confusion of language was confusion of thought. So it was more rigorous with the method, and it became in a certain way that the philosophy as an academic discipline was open only for the professionals, those who were in this field, those who practiced this logical analysis. They would perform or do philosophy, because earlier what we saw is that philosophy was more into the public sphere. They were examining their life, their beliefs, their values. Even a common man would indulge in that. But when these methods were developed in a very technical way, it required a specialization in that. So we can say that even though philosophy flourished with analytic and logical positivism, but this technicality shifted the importance of philosophy, and we can say that what was left, that subject matters, was remaining of, and those were given different names, though the methods that were developed by analytic philosophy, those got a different name under the name of logic or symbolic logic, anything or that. And that was one of the reasons that happened in the history. And then we have different educational policies that are packaging, or now we have critical thinking as a modular subject around us. And this identification of a new subject is based on the employment of the students, because critical thinking has become a very basic or very generic kind of abilities or attributes that the undergrad students should have. And they have to analyze arguments, they have to evaluate things, they have to do all the things which we are discussing earlier. But of a given situation, of not even a real time, but they have to practice that, a very content neutral thing, and they have to go and implement with various disciplines, and they have to use, and that is very required of having a job. Because we see, even though one is not in philosophy, but if it gives different examinations, say banking, railway, or anything, they have this decision making, this logical thinking, this analytical thinking in their examination. So it was a demand that this technique has to be taught, but not with the matters of life that were considered in philosophy. So what remains is that philosophical cultivation of this rational judgment was happening, that inquiry that was happening, that shifted to a measurable kind of thing, a kind of cognitive performance. So it was no more a philosophical inquiry, it became a cognitive ability. So now, again, we have this. So what this department then has to do? So are we not, then whatever we are teaching, to the students, is it useless? No, it's not. It's not. So shouldn't we teach history to them? History or philosophy to them? It's not like that. But reading philosophy is very different, right? If one asks that, if I read different books on swimming, so can I swim after reading several books? May not. So can somebody just read like that and then start doing philosophy? No, because these two are very different things. But reading philosophy or reading the book and then going to the practical session of swimming, that might help me to become a swimmer. Similarly, the history of philosophy is to be read in such a way, it shouldn't be only history of different philosophers, but the activity they were engaging. And we have to teach that how this comparison, this analysis, how they are proceeding, that technicalities have to be shown to them. The importance has to be shown that why we are reading these people over here, why they are in your syllabus. Because most of the time when I chose this during this fourth semester students, because at that time they have learned maximum things, because they have their general paper, they have in general paper they have their theories, they are aware about different theories, and then they are introduced to Indian and Western philosophy and ethics too. I don't pressurize during the first paper, even though it is designed in a very beautiful way and I can understand how it is designed. But to a student who is very new to that course will not immediately understand that what it is it. I can't tell that there are different perspectives, you need to understand, he has something, that has something, but I can give a very moderate thing that there are different perspectives. Things can be seen in this or that way. It can be in the terms of realism, it can be in idealism. Truth can be one, truth can be two, truth can be many. So I am just we're trying to just soft launch philosophy to them. But by this time when they have learned the major things, they are going through this history, I think we should give that openness to them to analyze what they are reading first, and then check in the midway whether they have grasped what they are being actually taught about. And then when this questioning them, showing them that what they had been doing all this time, what they were made to learn at that time, so that would be a light opening to them, and that might open a chance that they would start doing philosophy by themselves and then be philosophical. So what would be like of sustaining philosophy? So how we would sustain philosophy? Now it should be recovery of this activity lost somewhere during the change of subject matter in the history. So you can say not many things happen, and we cannot blame this. Like I told that analytical philosophy is a factor, but it is not the only factor. Blame has to be given to all of us. Those who are in this discipline, who are pursuing this discipline dedicatedly, or you can say made it as a career, made it as a profession. So it is a means we all are to be blamed. That why this charm of philosophy is decreasing. Why we have to struggle to have a department in the college? Why have we have to struggle in asking students to join our program? So with this, I would be ending with again the question that can someone know philosophy without philosophizing? And I leave the question open to you all. And that's all for my delivery today. And I had a good time sharing it with you all. And I hope that I was able to disseminate what I had all these years in my mind and what was going on in my mind. Sorry, sir. Uh, so, um, this is the fact that I believe, even though the topic is very simple, even though the topic is very undergrad kind, but it needs time and again to being ourselves, being even the professors of philosophy. We again need to question ourselves. Maybe we are forgetting to question ourselves, and we are forgetting, uh, maybe for examination purpose or the syllabus bound things or the institution itself, but the responsibility which we hold for the subject itself needs to be focused, needs to be understood in a new light every now and then. And therefore I chose this, and I saw that this was the last seminar before the 6th annual program of Philosophy Family Forum, and it is apt topic for the forum also, because I believe when I was in MA, this yeah, when I was in MA, Pramod sir, Narayan sir, Kailash sir, all these people came front to discuss various topics, to bring around people who are in philosophy department, who are not in philosophy department. So many topics were discussed, and I believe this was the motto, and this is the motto. So with this, I thank you all for listening me. Thank you to the admin, Pramod sir, to our moderator, and to the can say our Kyom Narayan sir, our Kailash sir. They are doing a very good job, and I am proud that I am the student, and I'm proud that they had given me a chance to speak to this in this forum. And thank you.
Well, okay, Kailash sir. Okay, thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
okay.
How is Kailash? Kailash sir is there?
Continue, sir. Continue, sir. Continue.
Okay, thank you so much, Deepalee Rout. Though you are so young, but still you spoke with a lot of confidence, and we see a lot of promise in you. And also, you spoke very nicely. So, thank you so much for your lecture. Very nicely done. Well, thank you. Well, to open up, let us invite Professor Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir to have his observations and queries. Namaskar, sir. Ranjit sir. Yes, Namaskar, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rao. As our this is our last for this annual before this last semester, he has mentioned, this is definitely the theme which should be understood by all of the students. Now, what she has deliberated, she has done very nice exposition, and
Sir, the voice is not coming right from your side, sir. Some disturbance.
trying because hello, am I audible now?
Now clear. Now clear.
This is a very reflective thinking that she has posed before everybody. Now, one thing I will not agree with her, and let me start with that before discussing what actually I want to say about critical thinking. Now, critical thinking can survive without philosophy, but philosophy cannot survive without critical thinking. This is my observation. But she was trying to put that she is one of our brilliant students with the science background, and that's why I'm very much in conversation with her severally on different occasions. So this is the change I want to bring on her views, that critical thinking can survive without philosophy, but philosophy cannot survive without critical thinking. Because you see, philosophy alone is not doing this critical thinking. Critical thinking is a separate the theme in the pedagogy of the and this starts from John Dewey, and this is being taught in all American universities. What actually and how to enter into a critical thinking without being a student of philosophy. Because you see, what ordinarily critical thinking means. Critical thinking means it is both reactive, reflective. That means you first react critically on some views, and then you reflect on that. So this is the prima facie of view of the critical thinking. Now, nicely mentioned about Socratic view and the beginning of the philosophical speculations, and you have mentioned about the intellectual midwife to pose before his students or disciples. Now, to mind, that first thing is this, that critical thinking is corrective. I will not say that critical thinking, if I am thinking on something, then that is enough. I cannot do that. So, and self-correcting thinking, because what we want to balance or what we want to check, rather, two things. One is the egocentrism and the other is sociocentrism. Because you see, when then our ego or our personal views are coming, and we try to stick, and on certain other considerations are also when coming into our thinking process. So these two things are definitely avoided. One is known as egocentrism and other one is sociocentrism. Critical thinking is not a natural process. It is to be inculcated, and it questioning and reasoning. So this can be taught. That is what American universities, they used to thinking to this 16 year to 18 year students. So these things can come relating it with philosophy. Now you see that there is a process in philosophy for knowing the perspective, because when a theory, even a philosopher or a scientist, they try to ponder over different. So how to know the perspective? It comes through group thinking. That means this is mentioned you about thinking. This was the technique I got from my teacher who is no more, Krishna. Krishna tried to develop a type of group. That means everybody, and this is almost a Socratic process of knowing the or eliciting. Who is conducting such group thinking, he must be a knowledgeable person, and the others, they will give their own on versions in the form of questioning on certain concepts or theories. Then the aim of the teacher, then teacher will try to reformulate the views so that it can lead to a fruitful discussion during those days, and that is still is there. Critical philosophy that is known as critical philosophizing. And what type of critical philosophy? Creative as well. This is known as creative philosophizing. They used to use this term, creative philosophizing. Now, what actually is there? Because when you know the different perspectives, you have mentioned, of course, about that, the balancing. So, if we know all the perspectives, nobody can know all the perspectives. They can only know. So these some perspectives are to be balanced. So this balancing the perspectives for the fruitful knowledge or purpose, most important thing. And this is how we can relate in critical thinking with philosophy. So, or else you have very nicely deliberated on Socrates and Descartes and all the views that how this type of reflections. But these are the things that I had in my mind to help you to add in your project that this type of critical thinking. Every human being is not a critical thinker. He has to first person, and so that by direct his question and on something, he can also correct himself. This is the process, correction and self-directedness. So this much, these are some of the views which I had in mind, or else you have very nice elaborated upon. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, I be taught, and that is the work we have to also critical thinking can survive alone. We cannot survive without that, and that was my point. But I misunderstood by it was like they have been all extracted and being created. So it is shown that philosophy has nothing to do with critical thinking. Like if I take philosophy as an activity, then now we have a discipline that's going to teach you all these things. Now what remains is the subject matter. So philosophy will not engage in this activity, not to it anymore, and another subject or a content neutral thing that would be taught in university. And point that when there is an availability of another subject that is specializing in this critical thinking, so what philosophy then? So that question comes, for which the you can say existential crisis for philosophy comes up. That was the was that thing which I wanted to.
All right. Thank you. That is the point of view that you are philosophy relate through critical thinking. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Ghosh, and also Deepalee Rout, the speaker today. Well, Namaskar, madam. Please, your observations and queries.
Yeah, namaste. And Deepali, I enjoyed thoroughly. It was reminding me of my classes in SY, starting Thales up to the end, and the same thing on in semester, uh, and then Kant and all these philosophers. I enjoyed thoroughly. I only wanted to ask you about the vertical aspect of wisdom and knowledge and etc. Uh, after figure, that was more apt. Don't you think horizontal is always better than vertical, because vertical is always bringing some kind of hierarchy, and there is this hierarchy is always very difficult to digest. Hierarchy is usually through society also. So philosophy enters into society, and this hierarchy in society is really dangerous. But overall, it was such a wonderful, really reminded me of our classes from F. Much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Uh, yes. First of all, when I was discussing knowledge, it was in a very they were very means like the very was what I was trying to show, and then when we proceeded, that this is not like we have knowledge and in manner, rather happens in a very, I told them this spiral way, and that is a upward
Yes.
spiral.
Yes.
Yes, that it's not only understanding that I have something implementing it, but how this is happening all throughout, that needs to be understood, and that is, I believe, what did they in their life.
Yeah.
Their whole lifetime was dedicated. So that is what I would say.
One more question. What faults do you find in Socrates, Aristotle? Do you see there are some things which they did not do, they should have done? Uh, just a thought. Admire them so much, and we do, but sometimes I feel that there must be something I think is not appropriate.
Uh, with Socrates, I would like to call a thing. Months back, I asked one of my teachers that whether it is okay to die for like how can someone die for philosophy? But Socrates did. Means concepts and everything. We are finding the technicalities and everything in that book. But I'm observing with them is the situation, and was reading about the academia as itself, about Plato academia, that what does what he was discussing and what was happening at found so many inconsistency actually trying to implement, and what he had given the exposition in that thing, the education thing, that between both, that also some inconsistency in his ideas. And
No, no, it was just I
uh,
always felt, because I love so much, but sometimes you feel
yes,
that there must be something.
yeah,
That's all. But I enjoy. Congratulations.
thank you so much.
And because you see, in Socrates, we cannot find any flaw. He followed his own method. But in Plato, Plato made Socrates an imaginary character in his dialogues, and all the questions were asked by Plato, and questions were also answered by Plato in all the dialogues. So he made Socrates, the imaginary, his teacher, as an imaginary Purva Paksha, and he tried to give his own versions out of it. So if to be blamed on certain occasions, certain situations, it's Plato and not Socrates. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Bose, Professor Rout. One thing, one thing that comes when Deepali, she said, die for philosophy and for Socrates. He died for philosophy to keep you. We remember philosophy. We remember Socrates. What he has done. What would future generation and in the generation now would have said? Socrates was asking very fundamental questions. Had come to his own life. He escaped from the jail. It had all will make you escape from this land and will the place where the laws of this will not apply. He died for his own methodology, own method to survive, because he was raising so fundamental questions on justice, courage, and all that act. Because he will be again, even though Socrates was raising questions was against the state, but he never said go against the state. He was asking questions that were affecting the state, but he never said go against the state, because it is he always of the state, and we need to respect. If we show disrespect to the state laws, then we are not even maybe critical to the state laws, not violate, escaped without in order to keep himself away from death. Then Socrates would have been meaning. Well, let us move to um, whether whether Prashant Shukla sir is, because he's a man who keen about Greek philosophy, and let's move to uh, Radhanath Vera sir for his observations. Shukla should have Dr. Shukla should have asked some questions, but he's not there. Anyway, Dr. Radhanath Vera sir, please.
This evening is now being very beautifully, because on this struggling to maintain its supremacy in the third test with England, and therefore no impact on difficulty. I was listening to Miss Rao when you say philosophy is analysis, not of an idea, but of an belongs to the individual. An ideal race, a community of people who think and arrive at conclusion. Now coming to Socrates, he became great. He was poisoned. Christ great because he was crucified. Gandhiji again became great. So all great people who had their own innings in life thought at a time people and they were subject to uh, this barbarous murder. Now coming to Socrates, why was he poisoned? The reason he thought the ideas prevalent then in the state was all wrong. He took it very critically and asked his people, particularly in the marketplace. Every morning he man on the themes and questions. First answer is contradicted at the end by a logical process, and man would be dumbfounded how badly or wrongly he had thought earlier. That was the Socratic method. And then he was charged with corrupting the youth because he said the is all wrong. The rulers were also unthinking. That could be in the long run the efforts of the state because of their illusion and wrong. And as uh, republic is nothing but ideas of Plato spoken through Socrates, particularly Plato all the way. Socratic dialogue was inserted in between, interpolated in between. Now, when Dr. Radhakrishnan was appointed the professor of philosophy by Sir Asutosh Mukherjee in Calcutta, he was given a small room that began to swell day by day because Radhakrishnan's exposition and the articulation was so people gathered from different faculties. And finally, because the biggest hall available was not adequate, asked to move out to a field and sit. And they never because the was so exposed, so lucid in style. Philosophy was a marketplace that is with Socrates in Greece. It cannot be sustained there. Was not supposed to hold the philosophical ideas I would be imparting to my students. The growth of philosophy, because unless do not conform to the existing rules or laws or thinking or principles, you never become a first-rate philosopher. Miss Rout was always quoting Bertrand Russell, in a sense my guru, because he was from mathematics, and when mathematics became and then admitted that philosophy is also becoming too intricate to literature. So that was his style of writing his own biography. Now, says about Russell, Russell was so of all the existing philosophers, from Anaximander, Plotinus to Socrates, down to John Dewey, Wittgenstein, and so on. He was employing not a double-edged sword, but a circular saw from 300 degrees. Never in the history of philosophy was such a great or a philosopher like Bertrand Russell. I certainly wish people should understand his way of dealing with the situation. He was first and foremost, and he was very critical of the philosophers who were not from. He used to call them either you are dull to pursue or too stupid to understand. That was his observation to the contemporary philosophers. Later, uh, he used to say, when when skill increases, wisdom fades. He was quoting about scientists because contrary to human nature, it has to be cultivated like critical thinking in philosophy. So he used to say, well, in arithmetic progression, the skill of eliminating each other far advanced, far more spirally than the arithmetic progression. So when somebody pointed out to Wittgenstein's new method of theory of knowledge, Russell it was only meant for analysis of language. Such a great thinking of philosophy reduced itself not to wisdom but to the analysis of language and language changes. So, how do
I think the voice is not coming.
elevate
Uh,
our simple life to on a grand scale? Original thinking. They, like Socrates, Galileo, or even, but they cannot be charged with misleading the youth, rather enlightening the old people without any. Thank you very much.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Radhana sir. Well, we have with us a new gem recently from Nayagarh, and he's from JNU, and he has raised his hand. Let us ask him to have his query.
Namaste to all. Ma'am, I have two questions. First is who should be considered as the father of philosophy? Is it Socrates or Thales? We know Socrates gives much more priority to critical thinking, questioning, but Thales, who has rejected superstitions, blind beliefs, and followed rational thinking. So, who should be considered as the father of philosophy? And the second question, when can a person be called a philosopher? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. First one, okay. For the first one, which we were discussing, that why Socrates is considered the philosophy was developed back then. See, when we see Thales, he did not actually have, he did not systematize philosophy as, but Socrates posits philosophy as an act done, why it is to be done, all these are quite answered. Okay, so we can say that proper philosophy proper started with Socrates, and we won't deny philosophy, but they were speculations because the evidence and reasoning, and then they gave answer. But examination of those limitation in that. So you can say that they were speculation. More evidence, more examination in order to be adopted. The, to you in Oriya, is it fine?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It is science.
We are running short of time. Okay.
Okay. I'm,
Okay. Come back to the. Okay.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
running short.
That is quite difficult question for me, and would try to make having any harsh, means like very rigorous definition. But one who leaves his with this proper analyzing and critical evaluation that were just, I believe that they are proper philosophers. This is my answer to you.
Thank you, Deepali. Well, we have it as well. Will not take any more questions. We have it as our admin, Dr. Madas, and we request him to have his observations. Over to Dr. Das. Well, we have
Thank
Kailash
you.
Mahana, sir, but he will have his observations. Thanks. Over to Dr. Das.
Thank you, Dr. Rao, and congratulations to Deepali Madam. This was very clear and lucid presentation. She spoke about one aspect of philosophy, that is critical thinking. There is no doubt about it. And she was very clear when she is claiming that critical thinking is not possible without philosophy, what Ranjit sir rejected. But she was right in the sense, we can say like this: wherever we find critical thinking, that is philosophy only. Suppose we find critical thinking in history, critical thinking in sociology, critical thinking in anthropology. Wherever we find critical thinking, that is philosophy only. That is not anything else. Therefore, the research-oriented questions are hidden in all disciplines. Therefore, PhD, the highest degree, is given to all disciplines. For that reason only. Because critical questioning is involved in human thought. Therefore, in every discipline. So, critical thinking is not possible without philosophy. That means in every discipline there is philosophy. There is a possibility of a critical thinking. One may not be branded with a philosophy or as a philosopher. He may be a historian, he may be a sociologist, he may be a psychologist, but he is a philosopher within. He is a philosopher in his mindset. Therefore, in that sense, Aristotle said that every man is a philosopher. Even a farmer is a philosopher. Even a poet is a philosopher. Atheists are philosophers. Theists are philosophers. Mystic people are also philosophers. So critical thinking is the base of philosophy. So wherever we find critical thinking, that is philosophy only. Number one. Number two, critical thinking is not only the methodology of a philosophy. If we take philosophy in a very broad sense, but that is the peak point in Western philosophy because they focus on critical thinking. Also, there is critical thinking in Indian philosophy. No discussion about Indian philosophy, therefore, I am not going to Indian philosophy. Even in Western philosophy, speculation is also a methodology. Speculation is not critical thinking. Speculation means we shall assume something. We shall start our thinking from a point. That is not critical thinking. So many philosophers, they begin philosophy from speculation. And after that they start asking questions. Then they go for dialogues. Then they revise it. Then they make a conclusion. Then they ask questions again. In that way, we move in a circle. But what is the limitation of philosophy? If we take critical thinking as the base and that is the end of philosophy, the limitation is that it will, as Deepalee madam said, that philosophy is not concerned with life, it is only concerned with critical thinking, then this purpose will be fulfilled. Life will be alienated from philosophical inquiry and philosophical success. But you mark one point, Socrates used philosophy, used philosophical thinking, critical thinking, so far as he was alive. But when the question of a commitment took place, whether you will accept truth or death, then that is a question of life and death. That is a question of choice, that whether we should compromise with truth or not. So there he became a philosopher. You see, when I am compromising with truth, with prudency, with hypocrisy, somehow I manage to escape, then I am not a true philosopher. In Indian philosophy, there are so many examples. I am not going to that. But so far as Western philosophy is concerned, when Socrates took a decision that he will not compromise with the truth, rather he will die, that is a question of life and very personal concern with life, because that was his right to live or to die, and he decided to die because this is the personality of a philosopher. And if you minutely observe, we all are like that. We discuss philosophy in a classroom. We discuss philosophy in debates. We are very much well versed in methodology, but we all have our likes and dislikes. We all have our personal philosophy, and we never compromise with that. That may be a dogmatic perspective, I agree, but then only I become a philosopher when I adhere to a particular belief system after reading, after discussing, after critically thinking all these aspects of philosophy. Somehow or other, I focus on one personal belief system. For that, Buddha left his family. Why? When he is leaving his family, understanding that understanding the Pratitya Samutpada, that everything is temporary, nothing is permanent. He understood this by critical thinking. But when he took a decision to become a sannyasi, he became a philosopher. So philosopher is a way of life. And that is the purpose of a philosophy. Therefore, that is love of wisdom means whenever you are critical thinking oriented, that is knowledge. But when you try to live with your knowledge, that it becomes wisdom. I learned so many things, but what is my actual behavior? What is my actual attitude? Have I become that? Have I become what I understood? Then that is question whether I am a layman or a philosopher. So that is the point. But Deepali madam is very much right that philosophy is pursued through critical thinking. Really, it is not only in Western culture, in Indian culture also, we believe in that. I am giving an example. Suppose what is the culture of argument? In Indian system, we do not argue for the sake of argument. There is no winning and defeating factor in argument. That I shall win and I shall defeat you, or you will be defeated by my argument. No, that is not the purpose of argument. That is not the purpose of dialectics in Indian philosophy. Here, both the opposite parties will pursue arguments only to reach at a perfect conclusion. That was the method of Socrates also. Here, argument is not a competition. Here, I don't want to win over your argument, or you will win over my argument, as we do in High Court or a Supreme Court. Advocates argue. This is not a philosophical argument. In philosophical argument, as Deepali madam very beautifully said, that after analysis there comes synthesis. So that is the beauty of synthesis. Not only we analyze, but also we synthesize. So synthesis is also is another methodology of philosophy. As we take food, but we should have a capacity to digest it, otherwise it is meaningless. Otherwise it is harmful. So eating food should end with proper digestion. Similarly, analysis should end with proper assimilation. We have to assimilate different ideas to have a to fulfill the purpose of inquiry. Otherwise it is vain. It is meaningless. So critical thinking is necessary to eradicate dogmas, to open the doors for other perspectives, to be a very frank man, very honest man, having no reservation of any perspective, no ism in the pocket, in the mindset. So that is the pursuit of a freedom. So a philosopher should have a free pursuit of wisdom and a free pursuit of truth. If that is absent, that is lacking in a philosopher, then he is a follower. He is not a philosopher. So here critical thinking gives us a free pursuit of inquiring the truth, and which is not ending at all. It is not ending. We cannot have a conclusion in analysis. Analysis will go on and it will move in a circle. If something is moving in a circle, that means it does not end, it does not give any concrete conclusion. But so far as life is concerned, we live our life with our fond beliefs, with our fond philosophy, and that is how philosophers are branded with their strong convictions. We remember Descartes for his contributions. We remember Kant for his contributions. We remember Hegel for his contributions. We remember Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. We remember all of them for their own contributions. So this is a very beautiful presentation by Deepalee madam, and there is no doubt at all that critical thinking is the base of philosophical inquiry, and wherever there is critical thinking, we shall say it is something about philosophy. Philosophy is hidden in every discipline as a critical thinking. Otherwise it is a novel. Otherwise it is even novel also. If we go on, if we do PhD, on a particular novel, then also you can review it, you can think it critically. So in family also, in society, in friendship, we are very much critical about the truth, about the knowledge, about the even the moral issues. We are very much critical. Therefore, today we are living with applied ethics. We are living with, as we are living with technology and modern science. So that shows how critical we are. Otherwise, we cannot say that our mindset, our psyche are being elevated, are being transformed. So this is my submission. I agree with you, Deepali madam, from the point that critical thinking is philosophy. And also I add something that critical thinking is not only philosophy. Philosophy has a bigger dimension. It also regulates our life, and it brings transformation in our life. Thank you, Deepali madam. Thank you, Dr. Rao. Do you speak anything, Deepali madam, as the last word?
Thank you so much. I believe that the whatever I have spoken and whatever observation and reflection I have got from you all shall be developed more. And I believe what I have said today, what I have expected from others today, I be able to deliver that. And I have a word for Rudra also, that he is a very new young face of philosophy right now. So ever if he needs any help regarding this, I'm always available, and I will be looking forward to contribute to philosophy forum anywhere. And thanks to you, Pramod sir, ମୋତେ ଗୋଟେ chance ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ଆଜି ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ concluding session ଭଳିଆ ପୁରା ଗୋଟେ ବର୍ଷର. And thank you so much to everybody.
Deepali, I shall appreciate one thing about your presentation. You were very confident when you are presenting your thesis. You are very confident, and whatever you spoke about critical thinking, that was very good. I appreciate you because you are a very young scholar, and every young scholar should come forward with this confidence. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, over to Dr. Mahana for vote of thanks.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much, okay, Dr. Das. I was walking to my house. I was enjoying the talk of Deepali, and I was also enjoying the observations and queries made by our learning participants like Amita Valmiki, Dr. Radhant Bhera sir, and first of all, Ranjit sir, Professor Shukla, and others. And it was very much benefiting to all of us. And the way Deepali madam has justified her stand on the distinction between critical thinking and critical philosophy, it is very much praiseworthy. And she has to get congratulations for all kinds for her justification and the way she has delivered the entire talk. And Pramod sir has given a very beautiful point that critical philosophy is not philosophy, but critical philosophy may be one aspect of philosophy that that is good. And with this, I extend my thanks to Deepali for her stand and for a dynamic way of expressing and presenting the entire talk, because she has very much a depth on philosophy and philosophical analysis, and she has also proved her academic interest when she stood first in in SSB. So
Once again, I extend my congratulations to Deepali and thanks to Deepali. And I also extend my gratitude to all the learning participants to be with Deepali and to have their observation on this forum. And I extend my thanks to Dr. K. Obnan Rao, the way he analyzed and coordinated the entire webinar. And thanks so much to my friend, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, for his summary. Thanks so much. And over to Dr. Das for winding the session.
Deepali madam, you prepare other topics also. We shall invite you. Okay, your presentation was very mature presentation. Also, you prepare other topics. Okay.
Sure.
With this, the session is declared closed. Thank you. Thank you all.